My name is 𝘍𝘜𝘛𝘜𝘙𝘌. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and also designer and researcher. My practice consists of really trying to understand people, and especially how people overcome limitations in technology and in their communities in order to creatively express themselves. I want to understand how people adapt to new methods, new technologies, new ways of creative expression, including the times where they have to forget everything that they learned before. Ballet dancers, we have to forget that they're the ballet dancers and take up new performance paradigms. Creatives who write stories using generative AI because they have to change the way that they do writing nowadays. My core practice also involves human-robotic interaction, human-computer interaction, and some neuroscience practice that I do when I was a PhD working on those. My work at ACC is called Archive for in the Future. The element of this comes from an inspiration from previous work where we looked at museums around the world and see that actually the way that they try to preserve the past is actually through a quite rudimentary form, which really basically assumes that we're making a correct interpretation of the past. So for example, museums nowadays really are showing you reconstructions or photos or different evidence of the past that no longer exists right now. And everything that the way that we look at the past is through these lenses that are no longer representative of the past. And in particular, when we reconstruct the past using archaeological insight, they're not really what it looks like in the past. They're our vision of what the past feels like. The project here at ACC examines that from the perspective of today. If we are going to archive our today for the future, what kinds of processes and what kinds of elements does the future want to look at? For example, ChatGPT and also human robots. The way that we do it now is we try to understand how we use our metaphors for what we're doing right now to preserve for the future. And so what we did is take a moment from Kwangju's history, use our own apparatuses to interpret it. So what we did is use ChatGPT and also human-robot interactions, robot movements to describe these types of interactions and show people a moment of the past that they can reinterpret for the present. And this archive serves as a way to document the way that we think about our moment in history and our own past, and in order to preserve these types of processes for the future. So with the idea of wanting to show this archive for the future and in the future, what we started with is having an interaction that exists both in the digital space and in the physical space. So we created robot movements from this moment of history, I suppose, that's described in a different language than our own. So first we designed the robot movements to kind of mimic that moment of history. So we used 32 different gestures that are defined by this ChatGPT that we used to describe this story. And then we converted that into the robot movements themselves. And then the robot's movements then are programmed into the actual robot arm to describe what that moment of history means for us. Then what we did is actually take those movements and put them also in a digital space. So in the digital space, the robot actually has a different representation because that archive, looking through a different lens from the future, is no longer the same robot as we see it physically today. So through that lens, we actually describe that robot as this overlapping ball of like an avatar of like different balls, because those balls kind of represent different aspects of the future. And when we show that in the digital space, the movements that the robot makes in this physical space becomes a different set of movements in that virtual space. So this development also consists of some very tricky technical details. For example, how to coordinate the digital realm with the physical realm. How do you control the robot from the digital space, which is actually existing on a community level so that anybody can visit it at any time. And so that development of the physical and the digital is what led us to redefine this project as well, to imagine it for the future and to imagine it in the future.